Welcome back, guys. Now, what I want to do today is to explain to you this type of a share, which is called participating preference share. Now, this share, in short, it participates in profit sharing twice, meaning you get paid twice if you hold this share, right? Now, remember, we said you've got non-cumulative, meaning these ones, they can lose their rights if you don't have money to pay them. They are non-redeemable. You don't have to pay them at a certain point, pay back the money to the shareholder at some point in time and then take back the shares. You do not have to do that. So there are 10% participating preference shares. This word participating means these guys will get paid twice. They get a fixed dividend and then they participate in the profits that remain. Okay, so let's look at basically this question. You will see that these guys, they participate, have an additional right. Here it is, 1/4 of total dividends declared to ordinary shareholders, right? So they get this 10%, and then they get this one too. Like I said, they get paid twice, right? They get paid twice, these guys. They participate in profits also. You've got the ordinary dividends that have been declared, and here it says preference dividends were declared and paid. Right, what is it that we are asking you? We're asking you to give us the basic earnings per share, basic earnings per participating preference share, and ordinary dividend per share, dividends per participating share. There are about 4 things that we're being asked here. Right, so please always answer what you are asked or you are required to answer. Now, let's start with basic earnings so we can understand what is happening. All right, here is basic earnings calculations. This one here. Right. So we have a situation where we have to pay dividends first. Okay. Let's look at the dividends here. Dividends here, you can see number 1. They are 100,000, 1 rand. It's very important that do not get confused. You are not multiplying by the number of shares only. You need to get them into monetary value, meaning the money terms. So it's 100,000, the number of shares times 1 rand times 10%. Right. That's the 10% that you see here. The 10,000 that you see here. Okay. Now, remember we said these guys, they get paid twice. Right. They get paid twice. After you've deducted, for an example, from 210, you deduct the 10,000, which is fixed dividend, the fixed preference dividend. You remain with 200. Now, from that 200, these guys who are called participating, they must still get a share. Remember, I said to you, they get paid twice. So they've got the 10,000 at the top. Now they must get another amount, which is the second amount, so that they can then complete that. Now, what you then need to do is this. Right. Here, let me explain this here. Right. What this means is that these guys, it's 1/4. So the first thing you do, you say, what is 1? There's 1 this side, plus 4. 1 plus 4, that is 5. Okay, 5. That is the total. Okay, so how is this thing going to work? Is this way. 4, oh, okay, let's do this. 1 divided by 5 is that one. Then is 4 divided by 5. So the participating guys are these ones. Right. And then the ordinary are these ones. Now, that thing can be expressed in percentage. If they said it was 25%, let's say in percentage, what we're going to do, you're going to say participating is, remember, if it's 25%, you say 25% plus 100. These ones are always 100. These ones here. So it's 100 divided by 125. These ones are 25 divided by 125. If the percentage was 10%, it was going to be it was going to be 10 divided by 110, 100 divided by 110. So I've showed you two percentages in terms of how you work this thing out. Okay, now what then will happen if we use something called I'll show you now a proportion or a ratio. Right, let's do this. Let's say these guys said this is 4:5. What you'll do, you'll say 4 plus 5 is 9. So 4/9 and 5/9. Now, participating ordinary, if you use the ratio. Okay. So I was just showing you that this 1/4 is expressed this way, because what you say is what is 1 plus 4 is 5. Then you use the 5 underneath here every time. Okay, and you'll see here what is 4 plus 5 is 9, so use the 9 underneath on both of them as a okay. All right, so now we know that of the 200, participating will represent 1/5 of that amount. You'll see here, if you look at this amount here it is. You see, 1/5 will give you this one. Okay, so you can just say 200,000 minus 40, that will give you 160. That is due to ordinary. Now the remainder, it goes to ordinary. That's their share. Remember, you see this 200 is shared into 2. There's 40 here, 40, and the 160 here. If you add the 2, they give you the 200 here. Right. So that is the situation. So sometimes you can do this. If you want to check, you can take this one, you multiply it by 4 over, you see here, if you check here, they are showing you that here it's 160. That is what will remain for ordinary, right? That is what will remain for ordinary shareholders, right? You can do the same thing here. This side you can take that 1/5. You'll see it will give you that. In number 2, it's expressed here in number 2. And you can also double check number 4. You'll see that here 125 times 4/5 will still give you that. Okay, so the ordinary shares are calculated already. Sorry, the reconciliation of basic earning, the reconciliation, that's how you calculate it. Now you'll see when it comes to the number of shares in this exercise, you've got the ordinary here, nothing happens to them. You can see when you read here, there's nothing that has happened to them, so they remain at 100, right? They remain at 100. Now when you have to calculate the basic earnings, you'll see here we go. You'll see here it's 160 over 100 gives you that. 100 over 100 gives you that. So you are using these figures here, 160 and 100 divided by 100 over 100, right? Then once you are done with this calculation, your figures must be pushed up here. Do not change the figures. Do not change the figures. Here they are. You put them here. Okay. You put them there. Right. So now, then we come to this part here. You must explain to us that how did you calculate basic earnings? It is based on the earnings of 160. Last year it was 100, and the weighted average number of shares of 100. Last year it was still 100 shares in issue. In this case, there are no shares issued for free. So you don't say anything about that here because there are no shares that were issued for free, like share, split, capitalization, rights issue. Obviously, if those were there, you'll say something about them, and then you'll state that the prior year was corrected, the prior figures were corrected. Okay. So in this case, because they are not there, so you don't say anything, right, about that. Okay. Then we come to the basic earnings per participating, right? Now, your participating guy, for an example here, they earn 10, they earn 40. So it's 50,000 in 2014 that they've earned. You see, this 40 here, they've earned this 40, which is, this 40 plus the 10 here, right? That is what they're earning. Okay, so you'll see the same thing in 2013 is 10 plus this 25 here. Those are the earnings, okay? Now, if you check in the question, the number of shares, now be careful here, we are talking about participating now, right? Participating are these ones. You see, there are also 100,000. Here they are. There are 100,000, these shares. We are not talking about ordinary here. We are talking about participating. You can see here that now we are calculating, it's specific, it's written here, per participating. You see, here it's written, per participating. So these number of shares that we are dividing with here are participating. Let me just do this so that people can understand what I'm talking about. So that people can see what I'm talking about. Here, we are talking about ordinary shares, okay? These ones are ordinary, they're at the top. Here, we are dividing with ordinary here. Here, it's ordinary, like you see, I've tried to be specific here. Here, we are dividing with participating preference, okay? So now, like I said, 10 plus 40 divided by 100. 10,000 plus 25 divided by 100. That gives us the basic earnings per participating, which is that amount and that amount. So we push them up again here. We disclose them here. Here they are. And we also now specify how it was calculated. The calculation of basic earnings per should read participating preference share. The calculation of basic earnings per participating preference share is based on earnings of 50. You can see obviously in 2014 it's 10 plus 40. In 2013 it's 35, which is 10 plus 25, and weighted average number of 100 participating preference shares in issue. Okay, now so you can see that once you are done with that, in relation to the question itself, you've already answered these two. Right, you've answered the two. So you're still left with ordinary dividends per share, and dividends per participating, right? Obviously, when it comes to ordinary, you'll go for these two first, and then you divide by the actual, because now you're dealing with ordinary dividends here. Ordinary dividends per share, you use actual number of shares. Obviously, the number of shares have not changed. They've been 100 all along. So we look at that. Here it is, the calculation here, using the actual number of shares. 6,000 divided by 100,000, 5,000 divided by 100,000, they give you that. Remember, dividends per share, dividends per share, they go under this statement here. You don't put them in the wrong place, okay? No, they're here. Sorry, they're here. Here they are. They go under statement of change in equity. They go under statement of change in equity. Here's your dividend per ordinary share. Okay. Now, then we then respond to the last item in terms of the required, which is this one now. Dividend per participating preference share. So if you look at this, right, obviously, here's the dividend per participating, right, preference shares. So again, be careful because these are participating preference shares, right? These ones are ordinary shares. Okay, these ones are ordinary, these ones are participating, right? So I just want that to be clear so that people can see that this 100,000 that we are dividing with here is this one now. This one is this one, okay? Now, if you then look at this thing, so we are dividing with 100 here, which is not an issue, right? Now, let me just explain this one so that people can then see. See, the 10,000 is the fixed dividend that we've earned, this 10. The fixed dividend that we've earned is this one here. Right, it's the fixed dividend that we are earning. Right. Now, if you remember this statement, let me show you this statement again. This statement here says they are going to get a quarter of the total dividend declared to ordinary. Right. If you check here, a quarter of the dividends, total dividends declared to ordinary shareholders. Here is what is declared to ordinary shareholders. 6,000. So they are going to get a quarter of 6,000, a quarter of 5,000, in addition to the 10,000 that they got here. So they are going to get a quarter of that, in addition to what they've got here. This 10, they get the 10 here, under number 1, this 10 here. And then on top of that, they get that quarter of the ordinary amount that is declared. So you'll see. It's 10 plus a quarter of 6,000. 10 plus a quarter of 5,000. Then divided by the number of shares, the participating preference shares, then it gives us that 0.12 and 0.11. Then you disclose them here. You disclose them here. Right. So these participating preference shares, you just need to know that these guys, they get paid twice. The amount that is due to them plus a portion like this one here. So they get paid twice. They get this amount and that fixed dividend, right? Even under dividends, they get their 10 plus a quarter of what is due to ordinary shareholders. So that is their share in relation to this item. Thank you.